Okay, so today is the Tuesday, the August the 15th. This is the regularly scheduled Board of Fire Commissioners meeting. And we will have the fire chief start us off.
Can we do roll call? Yeah.
Roll call. Oh, you always forget that.
Hadley Hayes,
Here.
DeLugich,
Here.
Babcock,
Here.
Para,
Here.
Woods Gray,
Here.
Fire Chief Crawley,
Here.
Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Chief Crowley.
Okay, flag salute. If you can, please stand. Hand over your heart. Ready, begin. Please remain standing and join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with 2A, announcements, meetings, and events. Going to turn it over to,
Do you have any commissioner comments, ma'am?
We have one.
oh, do we have comments? Commissioner Hara?
This past Sunday, I was in the Nisei Week parade on the bandwagon. And Chief Legal and Cody Wyreader were in the cab part. And in the bandwagon was retired Chief David Yamahata,
Oh, really?
along with his wife and their dog, and me. And I made the mistake of trying to walk back to my car after the parade with my turnout still on, and I didn't quite make it to my car. So as it turned out, Rescue 4 had to respond, and Ira Arnold and John Pitkin responded, and very professional and yet very friendly, and I got rehydrated during that time frame, and the air conditioning was going on, and so therefore I was fine after a short while, and because of my age, the policy is I'm supposed to be taken to LA General, the former LA County USC Medical Center, but I basically signed out AMA against medical advice because I was feeling fine by that time. But once again, I want to commend Ira Arnold and John Pitkin for the way they handled themselves and handling me.
Well, we're happy that you're okay.
Yeah.
Isn't getting old wonderful? Wow. Okay. It's like when you go to the emergency room or when you go any place and they call you ma'am. And you say, gee, who the heck are they talking about?
That's my mother.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to
Madam
item
President,
2.
Madam President.
I'm
may
sorry.
I
Oh, we
just,
have somebody else.
yeah,
Jimmy,
I
I'm
just
sorry.
actually, I wanted to offer condolences to the family of the firefighter, paramedic Daniel Rodriguez, who we lost right the day after our last meeting. And I pray that his memory will be a blessing to his family and to all of his friends.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Are there any other comments? Okay, we're going to move on to report of the fire chief.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll go ahead and report on my meetings and events from August 1st to August 14th. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for mentioning firefighter paramedic Daniel Ramirez. That did occur. His passing occurred on August 1st, so I was going to mention that. So thank you so much. And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, friends, colleagues. I did have the opportunity to report to his home on the day of the incident, and we have an amazing support mechanism within our department, from our chaplains to his last place of assignment was Fire Station 69C. Their crew also showed up at his home, and we ended up coming together, supporting the family, and assisting with transporting him to the coroner. Done in a very professional way, and again, we're going to continue to support the family and our fellow firefighters, working hand in hand with UFLAC, specifically on the behavioral health side as well. So great loss to the department. More information to come in his celebration of life in September, but we'll make sure that we notify all of you when that's going to occur. So that occurred on the 1st of August. Like I said, very, very tragic event. Moving on, August 5th, that was the St. Baldrick's event that occurred over in Porter Ranch in Councilmember John Lee's district. This was actually our 20th time of holding this event, and this is where we tag team and partner with LAPD. I just wanted to read St. Baldrick's mission, and that is to support the most promising research to find cures for childhood cancers and to provide opportunities for survivors to live a long and healthy life. Just so you know, over the 20 times that we've had this event, we've raised over $1.3 million to St. Baldrick's. That is an event to the public. It's a beautiful event where we have cancer survivors, their families. We raise funds for cancer research. We have shaved over 3,000 heads, and that's all in alignment with supporting St. Baldrick's. And we're going to continue to support that amazing foundation moving forward. So that was a wonderful event that occurred on August 5th. On August 6th to the 8th, I traveled to the National Fire Academy, represented the LAFD. I'm a part of the Board of Visitors, have the opportunity to network on a national level and support the National Fire Academy. So that was a wonderful way. Is actually my last time to be on the Board of Visitors. I timed out, and I'll be moving on to another committee in the near future. August 10th, this was opportunity again to represent the LAFD. This was a memorial service for Sheriff Deputy Alejandro Martinez. This was the individual recruit who passed away recently, and where this occurrence happened in this past November. He was with his recruit class. They were on a run, and he was struck by a vehicle, and he succumbed to his injuries. So that was at the Cathedral, just right up the street, and again, I was honored to represent the LAFD there. August 11th, I had another chat with the chief. That's, again, that opportunity. Usually we get to exercise that on a monthly basis, just the opportunity to come together in a virtual format with our rank and file, both sworn and civilian members, have about an hour just to chat. We take questions and answers, or questions prior to. I try to answer as many of the questions as possible, and also focus on the state of the department. So we finish up that chat with the chief on the 11th. And also on August 11th, and this is, I'm sure, what we will be bringing to you if you choose to direct us to do so. I met with UCLA, and that was a climate and culture assessment presentation. That was a presentation that actually occurred across the entire city, that was grant funded. We had the opportunity to sit down with UCLA and talk about their findings. They presented an executive summary. And this is right in alignment with what we did with our Deloitte study, which was our workplace assessment as well. So I really look at it, and we look at it as building blocks as to how we can better ensure that our work environment is conducive to all members within the fire department, both sworn and civilian. Not necessarily surprised about some of the findings, but with that, there's some strong recommendations and strategies that we're going to be building off of Deloitte and now with this UCLA study. So we'd be happy to report back to that, to the commission here in the near future and talk about our strategies and tactics of how we're going to be addressing the work environment, as well as creating strategies where our DE&I, which we're going to be presenting today, and also focus on the belonging piece. So looking forward to presenting that to the commission in the near future. And also just yesterday, August 14th, I was invited to be part of a tour of the Grossman Burn Center with Councilmember John Lee and CD Council District 12. Also, actually, the first time I did a full tour of the Grossman Burn Center in West Hills, and really had an incredible time walking around the facility, seeing what types of services they are able to provide. And lo and behold, we actually had one of our probationary firefighters there who was getting treatment, who had a second-degree burn on his ear. So just to see the amount and the high level of professionalism and how they go above and beyond for our people is really, really an incredible thing. I had the opportunity to meet with the CEO and their chief nursing staff. A tremendous facility that our firefighters often, unfortunately, do have to utilize when a burn occurs, but also what they're able to provide for the community. I met a number of the patients there that were burned, and they offer a tremendous amount of service to the local community and in the Los Angeles area as a whole. So that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. Are there any comments, any questions for the chief? That was great, thank you. So we're going to move on to item B, which is the verbal report of significant incidents and activities. I'm not sure whose report. Hi. I'm fine. How are you?
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, Ms. Nguyen, Ms. Gomez, sworn civilian staff, and any visitors. My name is Deputy Chief Jamie Moore, Operations South Bureau, and I'm here reporting on behalf of Deputy Chief Jason Hing, who was unable to make this morning's meeting. I'm here to report about a plane crash that occurred at Van Nuys Airport on August 2nd, 2023 at approximately 10:37 in the morning. There was a light aircraft with 2 people on board that crashed at the Van Nuys Airport. This is just outside of where we house our helicopters. They were reporting an emergency as they were practicing, and the single-engine plane was immediately involved in a plane crash during their training flight. It was carrying a student and an instructor. The plane did crash nose first into the ground near the helicopter landing at a high rate of speed and immediately burst into flames. Civilians nearby attempted to extinguish the flames prior to the arrival of both the Van Nuys crash apparatus as well as the LAFD. Our response time was literally 1 minute and 2 seconds. Unfortunately, both individuals succumbed to their injuries of this plane crash. Our members did an outstanding job extinguishing what was left of the remains of the fire and preventing any other involvement in any of the nearby area. That's the end of my report. Any questions?
None from anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we're going to have number C now, the verbal report by department relative to medical emergencies. I think it's Chief Nixon.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, staff, and guests. I'll be reporting. My name's Tyler Dixon. I'm an Assistant Chief assigned to the EMS Bureau, and I'm proud to be reporting on the excellent work that our firefighter, paramedics, EMTs, rated members, officers, and advanced providers have done over the last period of time from August 1st to August 14th relative to medical emergencies. I have 2 incidents of note to share with you today. On the 5th of August, companies in Operations Central Bureau, as well as Operation West Bureau, collaboratively responded to an emergency incident in the afternoon. Of note, the companies responding received a note on their mobile data computer where they received dispatch information that this incident had been reported by an Apple Watch, and they were given a description of the GPS location of the Apple Watch and the rear of a house, a single-family dwelling. When the fire companies arrived on scene under the command of Captain Jack Moore, who's with us today, they found a closed, locked, single-family dwelling with the lights off and no indications of an emergency. However, they worked collaboratively communicating with the dispatcher, who remained on the line of an open cell phone line, which was actually the Apple Watch of what turned out to be their patient. They were able to determine, based on a dog barking inside on the open line and the crew outside the house hearing the dog, that they were in fact in the right location, and made the determination to force entry into the house to access the patient, where they found an elderly female in cardiac arrest. She was alone at home. No one knew of her illness except the Apple Watch, which our dispatch center was able to integrate this advanced technology and able to guide the emergency responders directly to this patient. Next, the firefighter, EMTs, paramedics from the engine company and rescue ambulance applied advanced cardiac life support and worked diligently providing the best survivability for this patient. Fortunately, they were able to get a return of spontaneous circulation and transport this patient to an appropriate receiving facility for the end of care. This is an example of the fire department embracing technology to further our pursuit of providing exceptional public safety and emergency services. On the 9th of August, Companies in Operations Valley Bureau responded to reports of a traffic accident. They responded to a major intersection where there was a large car dealership, and they found a automobile that had come off of the freeway or off of the street and collided into the building, also striking 3 patients. They found the 3 patients, immediately called for additional resources, triaged the patients, and focused their efforts on one patient in particular that was found in cardiac arrest. Now, a cardiac arrest as a result of a traumatic injury such as this is a grave condition, and it is not a condition that is likely to outcome in a return of spontaneous circulation, which we talk about so often in these meetings. However, due to the diligent efforts of our firefighter, paramedics, EMTs, rated members, and officers that responded in a timely manner to this incident, they were able to provide rapid cardiac advanced life support treatment and able to accomplish a return of spontaneous circulation on the way to the local trauma center where the patient received their definitive care. Those are just 2 examples of the thousands of patients that your firefighter, paramedics, EMTs, rated members, officers, and advanced providers have responded to and provided exceptional care over this last reporting period. Happy to answer any questions, ma'am.
Questions? I have a comment once again. The reason that it's so important that we hear these reports is so that the public understands and begins to understand. You always say these are not dramatic things. Quite frankly, they are dramatic things. But I think I want people to understand that this is not a filler. This is not a time waster. People who are listening on Facebook or people who are plugged into these meetings really need to understand the extent to which the fire department saves lives, as opposed to other public safety organizations that are there after something has happened. So I really want to thank you. I like the specificity that you give us. And I'm sure that there are thousands that you don't talk about, but the fact of the matter is both of those things are things that are extraordinary in terms of what the fire department does. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, we're now on to presentations. Do we have any?
This is for your next one.
Okay.
No presentations today.
Okay. So now we're on to the public comment period, and the first person we have is Freddie Escobar, and you are speaking on behalf of UFLAC.
Good morning, President Hayes. Before I start my 3 minutes, if I could, I'm asking for a little bit of latitude just to comment on what Chief Crowley mentioned regarding Brother Ramirez and the collaboration, what we did. Unfortunately, we've become very good at it because of the deaths that have occurred. And we couldn't do it without the collaboration with the fire chief, her command staff, everybody present, the brothers and sisters from other agencies, and the brothers and sisters working the day, because they're asked to drop whatever they're doing to pay respect to the families. So Chief Crowley, command staff, everybody listen. From the bottom of my heart, I could tell you the Ramirez family, Gigi and the boys, are very thankful and grateful, and our thoughts and prayers are with them, and we couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you. It's very close to my heart, so thank you guys very much. President Hayes, commissioners, everyone in attendance, Freddie Escobar, UFLAC president, representing over 3,400 brothers and sisters of the LAFD. I would be remiss if I didn't start my comments today without mentioning the absolute tragedy occurring in Maui right now. As of this morning, reports are that more than 100 people are confirmed dead, with that number expecting to rise. 1,500 residential buildings have been destroyed and thousands of people are now displaced. This is already the deadliest United States fire in over 100 years, and our hearts go out to all the families impacted. Our hearts also go out to our sisters and brothers from Hawaii Firefighters Association, Local 1463, and especially those serving on the island of Maui, where several of the local firefighters lost their homes and everyone knows someone directly impacted. According to one of the news report, a Maui firefighter named Tasha Pagdilia lost her uncle to the fire and said that it all seemed like an apocalypse, with the fire destroying entire towns and moving up to 60 miles an hour at some points. There are lots of questions surrounding this fire, from the early warning siren system to the state electric provider and the lack of resources and preparation for this type of wildfire. But right now, the people in Maui need help. UFLAC is proud to announce that they will be supporting financially in a relief fund, specifically a charity fund that has been set up by the California Fire Foundation to support our brothers and sisters in Maui. 100% of every dollar raised will go to the Hawaii Firefighters Local 1463, who are on the ground providing direct funds and relief to the most impacted families. For anybody interested, you can find the California Fire Foundation at cafirefoundation.org. As we move forward, let's work together to care for our fellow Americans in Hawaii and learn from what happened so that nothing like that ever happens again, either in Hawaii or right here in California. Thank you very much for your time.
Can you give us that CA dot just for the
Yes,
us and
it's
for the public?
it's cafirefoundation.org.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, we had to put it together because scams were already occurring 5 hours after the incident, which is horrific. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Richard Ramirez. He's also from UFLAC Local 12. And he's speaking to all items.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Fire Commission, Chief Crawley, everyone in attendance. I'm here to speak on a few things. I want to start off by saying to give a recognition to the members in the last few weeks. For those that may not know, that we have a letter of agreement for staffing right now because of the short staff we've had previously, not hiring, things of that sort. Staffing levels the last few weeks have been probably in the teens, which is, I haven't seen that in at least the last 6 to 8 years. With that, it's been helping our members out in the field with safety, as far as safety for our own members, safety for the public. You know, there's nothing shut down right now. All rescue ambulances are up, fire engines, fire trucks, APRUs, FRVs, V-staff. Everything's getting staffed right now, which is one of the goals set forth for this letter of agreement. So I just want to bring some recognition to those members that have basically just took this on, stepped up to the call, and took a couple extra shifts a month now. And, you know, majority, if not all, are not complaining. They understand the importance of the public safety and the importance of training, the importance of getting ready for promotions, the importance of training these new rookies that we have out in the field right now, that we actually have time now. We're not getting shut down, so we can train them and give them the time and attention that they deserve. so they can be better firefighters when they start growing up in this job. And also, I know it's been easy, made the job a little easier for the fire chiefs. You know, they're not scrambling in the mornings, deciding who to shut down, who to move up, things like that. So I just want to bring some recognition to the members that have stepped up. If you look at our daily staffing now, it's incredible. You know, even though it's working right now, it's a temporary fix for what's going on. I want to thank you for the approval of the fire classes going through the drill tower that we just keep approving to help our staffing in the future, so we can bring things back that we've lost before. And just want to say one more time, throw the invitation out to all the staff. You guys want to come and ride out? We'll ride out with you, and I know some of you have done so far, but I'll jump on there with you also. So I'll show you around. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on now to our consent agenda items. I want to pull both A and B, just for a tiny little question. Okay. So for LAFD project and status report, I just have one request. I noted here on the bottom that there is a unmanned aerial systems policy revisions report. Written report was requested. Chief Crowley, do you think we can have that for the next meeting?
Absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
we're ready to
I
go.
just happened to notice it. That's all I mean, unless anybody else has any questions about that. I noticed that it's just kind of hanging out there. Okay. And then for the city council and committee activities report, this is a new report for me. So I think this is more for my education than it is for anybody else's. I was going through it and I was looking at the things that pertain to Public Safety Committee. And so there's this one that McOsker says he's directing the LAFD to report within 45 days on the feasibility of moving the T-van from one place to another, right? From FS40 to another dispatch center in the harbor area. This includes a list of FSs within CD15 that could serve as a dispatch center. And the only reason I'm asking about it is because we saw a report that said that this simply just isn't feasible. This whole thing is not feasible. And it has a lot to do with the age of the equipment and so forth and so on. We know that the pilot is going to be for another year because they've already funded it. But my question is, have we shared that report over in city council? Because they seem to want to push this. But we already have a report that's been very clear about the fact that this is just not sustainable. And I would hate for them to then use some more money to further the project and not understand that we do have a report that has been thoroughly vetted. We read the report. It was quite good, and it was quite specific about why this simply is not viable. So what do we do when we have city council members that ask for things? I realize that they're doing their job, so I am not at all questioning that. But are we then sending information back saying, here's the report? Just a question
Right, go ahead, Chief Villanueva.
for somebody.
Commissioner, Madam President, City Attorney, Leticia, those in the crowd, Deputy Chief Ronnie Villanueva, the Chief of Staff, and yes, we do handle all that.
Okay, but do you send the report to them?
We did not.
Okay.
We did
Can you
not send them.
Can you get that to them? Because then maybe they'll begin to understand that the fire department has done a thorough assessment of this. And this keeps going to committee to committee, back to committee, and I think if they had an opportunity to see the job that was done on the report. Also, there was an indication that we even had it evaluated and did an analysis from an outside group, as I recall. So I think it's really important that they get a chance to see that.
Yes, ma'am. We will provide them the report and also have a discussion with the council member.
Okay.
And also,
President.
yeah,
Oops,
go
sorry.
ahead, ma'am.
Sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to know if the report that you're referring to is the standards of cover.
No, it
Oh,
was
no,
a
no.
separate,
It's another
separate
report.
report.
Yeah, it was the report on the pilot.
Yeah.
Oh, the report of the pilot that they had. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, they did that. Yeah, they had that.
Yes, ma'am. And if I may, just to clarify too, so we did our pilot. We made our recommendations as to the sustainability of the program. And that was very clear as to, we see value in the program. Now, whether or not the best model moving forward is what we still need to exercise. So we've exercised our ability within the fire department to support it, which, again, we've been clear in the report that we've actually submitted. And my understanding is that we are submitting that to public safety, where we presented in front of all of you, and then we're supposed to file and push that through to public safety for additional comments. But in between the time, that recommendation came from Councilmember McOsker to let's look at a different format and move it from Fire Station 40s, which is very, very slow, versus somewhere else in the South Bureau under Chief Moore's command, is to identify a different location within the council member's district. So that was a step forward in regard to exercising the pilot, but in a different capacity. So we'll continue to work with council members as to what is the best model moving forward in between the time. And I agree with you in regard to what's been funded. There's funding for it, but again, what is a better model, more sustainable model for the city to exercise? Because there's absolutely room for this in the city. It's just a matter of what's a better model moving forward.
Yeah. And even though you're moving it, I get that. But it doesn't address the fact that the equipment that we're talking about is simply old. We don't know whether or not another model would use something different.
Right. And the equipment, just to clarify too, was, we had their staff in trailers.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the temporary solution for a pilot. Now it's again, what do we see as a city, as a public safety provider, to move the program forward, that it makes more sense, and it's a long-term strategy just versus a pocket of time in a pilot.
Right.
So that's, clarifying that the having members work out of a trailer in the backyard of a fire station isn't a sustainable model.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's the expertise, I'm suggesting that it's the expertise of the fire department to try to figure out how to make this work. Okay.
Question.
Commissioner
I have a
DeLucia?
Thank you. I've got a question about the Denver Support Team Assisted Response Program that Councilmember Hernandez, who's my council member, asked for. And I just wondered if is that something you all are familiar with? Is it something that we should be taking a look at? Do you know what that is? It's file number 23-0049. It's on the second to last page, second from the top. She requested funds for travel, lodging, and other expenses required for the Denver Support Team Assisted Response Program.
Chief Dixon can answer that.
Oh, and here he comes.
Madam President, Commissioners, again, Tyler Dixon, Assistant Chief, EMS Bureau. And yes, ma'am, we are aware of the Denver Assistance Program that the council member, she actually provided some funding and flew out some of the members of that program to be introduced and have a conversation with city staff, including members of the EMS Bureau, met with the council district staff and others to hear a presentation from the Denver Support Program. And what we found is that they have a program that's similar to the therapeutic van program that we were just discussing. They have they have one van operating, and staff did collaborate and have an opportunity to learn from each other. But what we determined based on their program is that similar to the recommendations we've made in the therapeutic van report and other reports to this body, The fire department has concluded that the appropriate staffing model or resource model to accomplish a multifunctional mission, including advanced life support, urgent care or non-life-threatening alternative medical dispositions, alternative dispositions to places like sobering centers or psychiatric urgent care centers for the LAFD, is an advanced provider response unit that is staffed by a firefighter paramedic, as well as a LAFD staff member that is a advanced provider nurse practitioner and or physician assistant. So while we did find the opportunity that the councilwoman provided for us to learn from another agency, we did glean some examples of things that we can adapt here, but it was not a model that we felt was appropriate to implement here in the fire department based on the robust pilot that we've already done with a similar vehicle in the T-van.
Thank you, and I hope you shared that with her, like we're talking. Make sure that council members understand the expertise that you have to offer. I was just curious about the program. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That takes us to our regular agenda items. I understand that agenda item 6A, Chief Crowley is, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm starting, Madam
Oh, I'm
President.
sorry.
I just want to remind you that there
We
needs
have
to be
to
a
re-
motion to receive and file the item.
Thank you. Okay. Can I get a motion?
to receive and file A and B, 5A and B?
Can I get a
Sec-
second?
Second.
I mean, we were both saying it at the same time. We were going to say, I was saying it, you were saying it, so.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Recommendation carries. All right. So now we're on to our regular agenda items where 6A, as I understand it, is going to be pulled, but it will be back on our agenda when?
We can place it on the next agenda if, ma'am, if that's what you would like, and there was just an issue with attachments.
Right.
So we'll make sure that
Right.
it's a complete report and the attachments are
Okay.
on it.
Okay. But I do have to tell you that I have a question about this. There was a report on this CUPA update that was requested on March 17, 2015. And the request was that a third-party analysis validation study to be conducted to look at our processes and potential for disparate impacts. Consider cost and potential barriers to conducting the study. Provide a concurrent report with a legal analysis of what is permissible, not permissible in terms of disparate impact. So is that a different report than the one that we're pulling today?
Yes, it is.
So that one is still outstanding?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right, I'm good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. That brings us to 6B, and this is the report by Department on Paramedic vacancy projections as of July 18th, 2023. Hi, Chief Dixon.
Good morning again, Madam President. Again, for the record, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, staff, and guests, my name is Tyler Dixon, Assistant Chief assigned to the EMS Bureau. Madam President, what you have before you for item 6B is a recurring report that provides paramedic field vacancy projections. This report was prepared on July 18th and projects a current level of field vacancies in the firefighter paramedic rank, and then makes a projection based on several inputs of where we anticipate that number to rise or fall. When you're looking at the chart that is attached to the report, when you look at the bar graph, if you're looking in a color copy, you see the very first bar graph is our current situation as of July, and moving forward, the light blue section would represent the firefighter paramedic vacancies, and the gold bar would represent the overall field vacancies in all ranks. The inputs that we utilize to make this projection are anticipated promotions of firefighter paramedics into other ranks. We project other separations for various miscellaneous reasons. We find that to be an average of one a month with some corrections there. And then we also project the onboarding of firefighter ones or recruit firefighters that are entering the drill tower who already possess a paramedic license. We project those members out to fill vacancies in the firefighter paramedic rank at the end of their probationary year, once they've completed the drill tower and completed their probation, or in this case, currently at the 10-month mark after they've completed their drill tower. And then finally, you'll see the section that states UCLA. That represents firefighters that are already tenured firefighters that we are sending to paramedic school on duty. And you'll see those projections are based on attrition rate or successful graduation rate, and we project those out based on the period of time that they require for their training, as well as passing their National Registry license. Several items of note from the last time we reported on this is you'll note in May of 24, under the UCLA section, you see a jump to 17. That's a expected success rate of the 21 firefighters that we have scheduled to start the UCLA Paramedic Education Program in September. That number is of note for this body. That is the largest group of firefighters that we've had volunteer and successfully pass the entrance exam in many years for one single class. The other item that is not projected on this report is our efforts to onboard emergency appointment paramedics. And we are in the process, Chief Gutierrez in the Training Support Bureau is in the process of assembling a class of up to 30 emergency appointment paramedics, projected to start a 2-month training period. October 9th is the tentative date for that. Happy to answer any questions you might have, ma'am.
Commissioners?
Yeah, so just to be clear then, so May 24 is when the 17 are completed and actually can go into the field as paramedics.
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay.
our estimated date. That date can vary a little bit based on the firefighter, soon-to-be paramedics, success rate on the National Registry test.
Got it. So it takes about 8 months to get through?
Plus or minus, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. And we're putting them through every 4 months, it looks like?
We have budgeted 45 positions in our budget this current fiscal year, and we generally break that up over the 3 classes. And yes, ma'am, it's generally they start about 4 months apart.
And looking at that January 24 date when we have 18 firefighters drop, how many of those are paramedics, do we know?
January 14, 18. So of that mark that you see in red there, all 18 are representative firefighter paramedics. And
Got it.
that red mark is a mark for us on the staff of the January
Yeah, paramedic.
location is something we've been targeting. And if you'll notice I described the emergency appointment paramedics that we are working diligently to onboard if they were to start in October and complete a 2-month period. They are not represented on this projection, so
Got it.
we
So
are
they'll be prepared
specifically
to take.
attacking that date.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to see those emergency appointments on this chart. Is there any reason why not to put them on here?
I believe it would be appropriate next time we update this to put on you. We are still having we're calling that a tentative date. We do need those members to pass their backgrounds and their onboarding process before we would normally project them based on our past practice.
Okay, it would still be nice to see them as one of the factors of addressing the staffing crisis.
Yes, ma'am. I think it would be appropriate for us to adjust that the next time we bring this report.
Great, thank you. And then just, you said 17 are expected to graduate out of 21. Is that just the usual percentage, whatever that is? I'm not good at math.
We average about an 80% success rate. It's a difficult program, and appropriately difficult. You want your paramedics to be highly trained and highly qualified, and we partner with some of the best paramedic schools in the country. UCLA Paramedic School, or UCLA Paramedic Education Program was born out of the Daniel Freeman Paramedic School, which was, if not the first paramedic school in the United States, it was definitely one of the first and a pioneer in paramedicine being integrated into the United States.
I mean, 80% seems like a good passing rate, but do we have any idea what might make that 90?
80% is actually a exceptional pass rate. The school's rate overall is about there, if not a little bit less. We do have a robust preparatory program that we send our firefighters that we're going to send through paramedic school. There is an entrance exam that they have to pass and study for. So that is a screening mechanism. If they pass that entrance exam, we then send them to a preparatory class ahead of going to paramedic school. But I believe that's actually a rate to be proud of, ma'am. The 80% rate is a rate to celebrate as far as normal averages of success in paramedic school.
Thank you.
I have one last question. It's probably just me because I'm just coming back. Is there an overall plan that you have, I'm sure you do, for hiring and backfilling and with the current personnel that you have? My question pertains to the fact that we know that about 85% of the work that's being done by LAFD is actually EMS. So could you, at the next reporting period, so that we're not having kind of a scattershot conversation, either let us see the plan or make sure that you put a plan in place that addresses the shortfall? I'd like to see that, and including the things that Sharon DeLucia has asked for. I think Commissioner Babcock asked a great question, but if we could see the plan in document form and how you plan on addressing it, what the barriers might be, what you need to have happen, Chief Dixon, moving forward to address this, because it feels to me like this is going to get worse before it gets better. So if we could kind of see a comprehensive approach to all of this, it would be helpful.
Yes, ma'am, we can definitely do that. This is a topic
I'm not
that
asking for it at the next meeting.
appreciate that.
Yeah, because I know I'm asking for something that is way more complex than my little brain has figured out. But, you know, just let us know, let the chief know, let Chief Villanueva know when you think you can have that ready for us. That would be fine.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate the latitude on that, and we'll get to work on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other questions? We're good? That takes us to item 6.
Madam President, there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I always forget that.
So moved.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries. I always forget that. I'm going to get better at that. Okay, so now we're moved down to 6C, the report by the division on the background and overview of the new LAFD Equity Division.
Good morning, Madam President, Vice President, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, City Attorney, Letitia, and all uniform and visitors. My name is Stephen Gutierrez, and I have the privilege to serve and excited to be here this morning to provide an overview that was requested by the Commission on the new Equity Division. My plan this morning will give a general overview as outlined in Board Report 23-077, and then in that midst also introduce the Division Chief, which is Antoine McKnight, as the Assistant Chief to come up and give more specifics, and with the recommendation to receive and file the report. So the Equity Division is the first step that will make the LAFD a catalyst for change and lead the organization in areas of diversity, equity, inclusion, also known as DE&I. In 2021, when I assumed the position of Training and Support Bureau as a commander, I quickly realized a few areas of improvement in the areas of human relations within the organization. This began the initial focus by Training and Support Bureau to look at this a holistic approach. Moreover, at the same time, through exhaustive efforts through department stakeholders, including UFLAC, Chief Officers Organization, to set forward an assessment to be conducted. We were successful in identifying funding and a vendor for that being Deloitte Consulting LLP. And as a result, in 2022, they finalized that report and gave us a roadmap. One of the many recommendations, approximately 22 recommendations from that report, was a department to create a Human Relations Bureau, as well as address areas of DE&I. These areas were identified and recommended for improvement categories that align with the mission, vision, values, and strategic plan for the LAFD. The 4 categories were leadership development, career management, systemic equity inclusion, and operational process and systems. The Equity Division will provide an organizational structure to facilitate a formalized workplace mentorship platform, ensure trained members are available for work environment mediation, facilitate department-wide environment training, and promote fair and equitable treatment of all members, sworn and civilian, to drive meaningful, lasting change for promoting well-being across the department. As goal number 3 of our strategic plan is a commitment to organizational culture that embraces diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of our 7 core values is collaboration. The Equity Division, also known as EQD, has already begun collaborating with department stakeholders through what we call a lead team, which stands for Leadership, Equity, Advancement, Diversity, and Inclusion. And this is a collaboration of all stakeholders where all members come together. We meet monthly and look at policies, governance documents, and what's going on in the department and make recommendations. Also, we share what we're currently doing, not just in the Equity Division, but throughout the department to improve areas within the organization. Very successful, very proud to be part of that organization. Through senior leadership as an eventual bureau and improvements, the LAFD will embody a more inclusive workforce, which will improve our innovation as well as problem-solve abilities as one team. By embedding DEI into our organizational culture in every aspect of our operations, the Equity Division will ensure equity in all areas of the LAFD, improve member and organizational engagement, provide effective leadership competencies, which include inclusion programs to train and educate the workforce, mentor and engage all members on probation, and that means all ranks of probation, so that they are provided with the best opportunities for success, provide a diverse and inclusive work culture that promotes fairness and equal participation in all areas, and then finally gather statistics that the department will use in reports for continuous improvement. So the next is to look at a basic overview, which is 2 sections of this new division, which is the workforce enforcement section and the UNBUD section. What I'd also like to go is to just touch on very briefly is the physical impacts. The physical impacts is really unknown at this time. As we start to unfold this new division, which will eventually be a bureau, it's anticipated the LAFD will continue to grow within these areas, and with similar continued evolve as it evolves to support the needs of all employees. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Assistant Chief Antoine McKnight, who's the new Division Chief Commander, and he's going to go and give a little more specifics as well as the communication, staffing, some of the governments and policy documents we're currently looking at, training, resources, where we're at in implementing, which includes, again, the current state, some of the expected outcomes that we have, which should align with our strategic plan and our goals, and then the long-term lasting impacts this will have in the organization, as well as some of the trajectories. So with that, Chief McKnight.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Fire Chief, City Attorney, staff, and guests. First of all, welcome back, Madam President. Good to see you back here. And so we, as Chief Gutierrez, I'm Antoine McKnight, Assistant Chief of Equity Division. I've been there approximately 3 to 4 months right now, so it is evolving. And as Chief Gutierrez explained, we are developing processes and getting everything set up to move the department forward. The first thing I wanted to say, as far as the Equity Division, it's guided by the overall city's workforce equity policy. And there's 3 main goals of the city's workforce equity policy. Number 1 is to preserve dignity. Number 2 is professionalism of the workplace. And number 3 is encourage equity. So everything that we do is starting from now is based upon those premises. Our communication as far as getting out what DEI is and what it is not is very critical in how we communicate that. So diversity, there's definitions, but what we're looking at from the department's perspective not only defines individuals based upon demographic characteristics, but also the diversity of thought, education, and perspectives, which values how people differ. Equity provides individuals with just and fair opportunities to attain their full potential. Inclusion is a state of being valued, respected, and supported. Inclusion results in everyone feeling a sense of belonging in the organization. We also want to communicate what DE&I is not. It is not divisive, it is not exclusionary, and it is not indoctrination. So in communicating that out to the field, we just want to make sure that everyone understands that DE&I is about how we treat people, respect, professionalism. And so that's what we want to make sure is communicated. As Chief Gutierrez stated, the current equity division is divided into two sections. One is the workforce effectiveness section. The workforce effectiveness section includes the formal quality assurance unit, which basically were our probationary engagement officers. So we moved them into the workforce effectiveness section, and not only do they engage probationary firefighters, but we also engage promoted members who may need mentoring and support. The other section is our ombuds section, and the overall concept of the ombuds section is to give our supervisors, our captains, another tool at the fire station to utilize in the event there's conflicts and how we can mitigate those before they reach CTS. And so our ombuds section would, whether it's a referral from the field or we hear about something or a phone call that we receive, we would go ahead and put ourselves to work and try and get those issues resolved before they reach a situation where they're in CTS. Also, the unit will grow as we have 9 months of funding that's coming up in October, where we'll add additional positions to assist in those efforts. The overarching part of DEI is, as far as governance and policy, is we're going to look at everything on the department through an equity lens, including every aspect of the hiring process, transfers, promotions, the drill tower, gender identity, hair standards, family leave policies. So all these things will be evaluated from an equity lens, and we'll make sure that the workforce is a place where everyone feels belong. Some of the trainings that we've already embarked upon is conflict resolution and emotional intelligence. We are currently putting together a train-the-trainer. We've trained approximately 18 individuals already in conflict resolution, and we're going to train additional in October, and eventually we'll provide that training to the entire department. Currently, physically, the location of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or the equity division, is Frank Hotchkins is where our workforce effectiveness section works out of, and I'm assigned here on the 16th floor. And that's the end of my report. Any questions?
Commissioners?
So just for clarity, the ombuds section, working closely with risk management, I see that there's a lead mediation and investigative officer. So the goal is to try to mitigate and handle those things on site and within the station. What's kind of the vision of that?
Right. So, given previously being assigned to PSD for 4 years,
Right.
one of the things I looked at as a commander there, what is a percentage of the member-on-member complaints that could have been resolved in the field? Non-punitive. basically at arm's length through the mediation process. So at that time, we looked at a couple different models. One, partnership with USC, one with the city attorney. One of the things I found in that is that it was kind of hit and miss, and mainly because it was, our members knowing our members, wanting to bring them together at arm's length, and then they have a conflict, is having one of our own members present that is trained, that can help articulate the differences and reach an agreement. So that's what this is designed to do. It's not only, like Chief McKnight said, is to give tools to the rank and file and the officers out there, that place to go to, but any member to visit, to come, and to actually eliminate, or let's say not eliminate, squash that dispute, because more than likely, many times, it's just a miscommunication. So part of that is getting the members assigned there, and beyond that, even to the geographic bureaus, the necessary training and credentialing to do so. We'll still align with the city attorney along the way and still use UCLA School of Law. However, bringing it down where the rubber meets the road, or where I say the boots meet the ground, to bring it so it's more malleable, it's more understanding, and they're more, I think it'll be more successful. So that's the idea behind that. So that's one of the things when we did research throughout the country. LAPD's had one for about 20 years. We took some of the good things that they did and built on those. And then looking across even fire departments, very rare does a fire department have anything similar to this. So I look at all these things really as positive, big wins for the membership. So the ability to resolve dispute at the lowest level, giving the officers the toolkit and the tools to communicate, number one, and get a common understanding, or what we call a common operating picture of how we go about working together 24/7.
Excellent. Is this being put into practice already, or it's?
Right now, we're still currently in the hiring process
Okay.
for it. So once we get the hiring process, we do have, I've already looked at the trainings that'll be on board, along with collaborating with the city attorney.
Excellent. Thank you.
Madam President, I would just like to commend you for your start on this. This is a new bureau, and that you've made, I think, a great start. And the things that you talked to us about today are the things that came out of the Deloitte report that were stated by the staff, firefighters, even the commissioners were included in the gathering of the information. And I think that seeing that you're on the right track, looking for what we need to make the staff feel as if they're more included, and that leadership is being provided for everybody across the board, which was a big issue with a lot of staff people at the time, and the respect of each other, working on those issues. And I think that this is a very good start, and I'm happy to see that you're moving in the right direction. Thank you for the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a ton of questions. Does anybody have questions before I start?
I have questions,
ahead.
but maybe not a ton, half a ton.
I'll enjoy your.
Have a half a ton? You could go first.
Okay.
You only have a half a ton.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Well, yes, thank you for this report, and thank you for getting this started. I did get a hold of the Deloitte report, but just, so I would like to see like a fuller report on maybe in like 60 days or whatever you guys think makes sense, to just hear what specific and concrete steps have been taken based on the roadmap, or what steps you will take, what are specific results, how are we measuring success? So I'm interested in much more detail. And I just feel like people aren't really using the word, I feel like there's a misunderstanding of the word equity. It's not equality. It's equity, meaning a conscious effort to provide opportunities to those who haven't had them. So it's not just everybody's got the same thing. So I just think we should have more education about what equity really means. So I'll leave it there, but I would love to see something much more in great detail and be able to go over this report in a couple months. Thank you.
Before I make my remarks, I want to be very clear and transparent. For 10 years, I ran the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the only organization that was founded by Martin Luther King. For another 10 years, I spent as a consultant to school districts around the nation around issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, and things like that. So my questions are more in the nature of how we make this real. It sounds great, and I want to thank you very much. It's a good start. But here are my questions. I need to know what power has the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division been given to fulfill its mission, as stated in the report. They're not empowered. If you're not empowered to act independently, this sounds great, nothing's going to change. It's just not going to happen. I want to know how they can discharge their stated purpose without the power and authority to act with the independence necessary to provide an action plan with specificity to make the division live up to the stated vision of the LAFD. There's nothing in the plan, I didn't say anything in the plan that demonstrated such independence. I need to know who the division reports to. I want to know what authority the reporting officers have to change, reject, or dismiss plans, training, recommended discipline, measures for offenses that fall under DEI guidelines. The commission needs to see a report outlined, authorizing, backed by the chief, to discharge their duties. The commission needs to know who makes up this division, how they were chosen. I want to know what their qualifications are. I want to know what their training is, and I want to know what their experience is. If we drop, I understand that there's this whole new deal about dropping diversity and inclusion, and you just want equity. If we drop diversity and inclusion, which is something that Commissioner Woods-Gray asked about, Woods-Gray, I'm sorry, then the division is limited to the scope of work that they're going to be required to do. So the language in the report said this: the division not only defines individuals based on demographic characteristics, but also the diversity of thought, education, and perspectives, which values how people differ. I don't know what is meant by demographic characteristics. What does that mean exactly? If you're not going to be specific, hold it. If you're not going to specify what you're talking about, a whole bunch of stuff is going to get swept under the rug. If you're not going to say it, then it's not going to be there. Without a more defined purpose with authority, reporting hierarchical structure, training of members of the division, the physical impact, of course, cannot be ascertained. So you need to have all these questions raised, and you need to have them answered. So nothing in the report speaks in real terms about gender, sexual assignment, ethnicity, ageism, or sexual reassignment. Without explicit language stating in the division's mission statement, all of those things will be overlooked. Trust me on this, they're going to be overlooked, because it's hard. This is hard stuff to look at. And if you're not explicitly talking about what you mean when you're talking about equity, which is what Ms. DeLucia is talking about, you're going to overlook it. And we're going to be right back to where we were before. It's a new field. It's a whole new field for every organization, not just LAFD. It's just a whole new field. I think that the department is going to need some expertise and help in setting up such a division. I realize that I'm asking for a lot, but I want you to understand, at 78 years old, I've seen this stuff come and go, and if you're not going to be specific about it, then you don't mean it. And I don't believe that Chief Crowley wants that to happen. This is a whole new thing. She's totally behind it. I'm totally behind her. I think the commission is totally behind this. But if we are really talking about transforming the Los Angeles Fire Department, we are really talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, if those questions are not answered with specificity, then we're not getting anywhere. We're not going to go anywhere. We won't understand how much money we actually need. We won't understand how many people we need in this division. We won't understand the specific, particular skills that those people need. This is not just about people of color. And I want to say that right up front. This is not just about people of color. This is about anybody that works for the Los Angeles Fire Department who has not been acknowledged, whose service is somehow diminished. And I know you can feel it and you can hear it. I'm really passionate about this because so many other things could actually be reduced. Bullying, harassment, all of the things that we know impact LAFD. And trust me, I want to go on record as saying I think this is the finest fire department in the nation. And if we get this right, then we will then rise here. Because I don't think there's any other fire department in the nation, probably in the world, that is really talking about this as openly and as honestly. And I really, really want to acknowledge and appreciate you, Chief Crowley, for the stand that you're taking. You are really poking your head up, you know, and what happens is you get, that nail gets pounded down. Pilgrims get shot in the back. So I want to make sure that you understand that I understand where you're going. But I just believe that if we don't, and I can snatch this off and give it to you. So those are my comments. Those are things that I think, you know, at the start, they just have to be in there. You gotta say the stuff that's hard to say.
Right. Madam President, I totally agree with you. And in fact, the organization, and I'll speak for Chief Crowley, is committed to this. So all the things you said are exactly accurate. One of the most important things, and I think he was going to get to it, is that communication piece, specifically on the mission of this specific bureau or division. So that's the number one thing we are actually, and you're absolutely right there too, is looking outside and outside the organization for that expertise that knows this stuff, either from the institutional level or best practices in business, that there are people out there that do this, and we're currently looking at that now. So this was the first step, first phase to come back. I know previously I've given some updates on things following the Deloitte report and some of the things that we're doing, but this is, I would say, the first giant step forward in acknowledging where we're at, and we're going to be very mindful of that communication that goes out, so that the organization and its members understand, and the public also understand what is really embodied in this piece within the organization. So I appreciate all your comments, and they're accurate, and we're here to do that work. So, and I think Chief McKnight feels that same way. So.
Yes, so I like Chief Gutierrez, I appreciate your comments because we do need to be very specific and clear. So I appreciate it. I took notes, and we'll make sure we address all those issues. Thank you.
I'm gonna give you mine.
Madam President.
Okay, we have, let's do Commissioner. You want, okay, Commissioner.
Yeah, one of the things I want to go back to is that the Bureau was to be called the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. Because just as you stated, great questions and great points. If it's not there, it gets missed. Now, diversity, equity, and inclusion has created a lot of controversy throughout this country. Right now, there are all kinds of things being said. If someone hires a diversity officer, a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, there are people talking about boycotting businesses because they did that. It's really a controversial issue. But we have to be strong enough to stand up, just as you said, Madam President, and put on the line what we mean and say what we mean. And what we said at the very beginning, it was a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. And so I would like to have the name changed back to what it was supposed to be, so that we have it as it is and not slide under with a softer landing with equity, because equity gives you like a softer landing. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is truly more controversial because I'm following it throughout the country, and it is.
Okay. So you're formally requesting that the name be changed back? We
To
need
the
get that on
Diversity,
record.
Equity, and Inclusion
Okay.
Bureau.
So,
I agree.
I don't know how we handle that. I'm looking to the legal expert down the down the line.
Well, that's not something that the council can act on, I'm sorry, the commission can act on today. It could be, I don't know, I can talk to the chief about whether that authority has already been delegated to change it.
Yeah.
But if necessary, we can, staff can bring it back if there's commission action that's needed.
So let me make sure to be very, very clear that when it comes to this essential initiative of where we're going as a department, we are going to be happy to report back on a more detailed plan. Whether or not it's the name change, and actually words do matter, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. The steps that we've taken up to this far, up to this very point, is historical for the department. And I agree wholeheartedly with the commission, and I do, and we truly appreciate you standing with us on this initiative, because this is the evolution of the LEFD. This is the work that has to be done for all the right reasons. So we take your comments and suggestions wholeheartedly. We'll come back with a more detailed plan, and we look forward to working with you side by side and to create the momentum for us to evolve as an organization. This is the right thing to do, and it's the right moment. I can tell you that. And from this administration to our rank and file to working with UFLAC and the Chief Officers Association and our stakeholders, it's time. So I look forward to seeing where we are going to take this from the beginning all the way through the evolution of where we're going to be as an organization. So thank you for your support.
Commissioner Lucas? No, you're fine?
Pass.
I want to make sure that everybody understands that the commission is going to stand with the chief. And I want to make sure that you understand that I understand the historical nature of this. And I want to say, as the last comment, that I commend you. This is not going to be easy for you, but you have stepped out and you've stepped up. And I think it's important that the commission understands that there's a risk in this for you. And still, what you've done is you've stood up. You said, I accept that, I understand that, and I could not be prouder to be a part of this commission with you as the chief, because this is a tough one, and you're right where you ought to be. So thank you very much, and I want to commend both of you, because there's also a risk to you in terms of your forward trajectory in the department. There are going to be a lot of people that don't like this. And you're going to be on the line, just as Commissioner Woodsgray has said. You're going to be on the line with this, too. Because people are going to be coming at you. They're going to say it's too tough, it's too much. You know, we don't want this. What are you doing? So let me commend the both of you. This is a big one. And I'm appreciative of the effort. So,
And I support you, Madam President, and the chief, because there are already people in the department saying that this is a waste of money.
yeah,
I mean, I see the writings. I don't know who they are saying it, but there are people that are saying it.
you got it. You really, I mean, all that we're talking about is true, and I think we're spending so much time on this because of the historic nature of what it is that you're wanting to do. So, are there any more comments?
I just got to say one thing, just
Of course.
related to what
Of
Commissioner
course.
Woodsgray said. In terms of the cost of this, I would like to see like the balance or the cost-benefit analysis for the risk assessment, the lawsuits that result from not doing these kinds of things, as opposed to the money that we're going to invest in being proactive. And I also do just have to say, like, I don't think people really care that much about being embraced or celebrated. I think they just want to be accepted. I think they don't want to be bullied. I think they don't want to be excluded. So I think we should have our goals be, I mean, I don't want to like create, general eye rolling. Like, again, I don't need to be celebrated, but I do want to be a part of what I've decided to be a part of. Anyway, thank you.
So we're going to then, the recommendation is to receive and file this. I worry about that. Receive and file means what? We're going to receive it, we're going to file it for further action? I mean, I don't,
That you've, acknowledgement that.
that we got it.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So it's recommended that we receive and file. Can I get a
Madam President,
motion?
I move that we receive and file item C, 6C.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We have now come to the end of our agenda. I'm sorry?
I was just going to say, we are, as well as you, we are very committed to this bureau, this division, and I'm beyond caring what someone thinks about me. So we are very committed to make the change.
Well, since I know you, I know that's a true statement.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to adjourn. I want to adjourn in the memory of firefighter paramedic Daniel Ramirez. But I'd like to adjourn not just in his memory, but in honor of a life of service to the city of Los Angeles, not just the fire department, but the city of Los Angeles. So let's just adjourn. Can we just have like 30 seconds to actually remember? Okay. Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
A motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.